Dear grade 5 students, today is the second part of revising the first unit, How We Can See Things. In the first part, we revised what is color, what do we mean by color, and how we can see things. Today we will continue revising this unit. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the reflection. Remember the reflection? Objects that reflect light well. Okay, in the picture you can see two different surfaces. One of them is straight and the other one it looks like it's not straight. Objects that reflect light well. These objects should be smooth and have shiny surfaces, and usually they are pale colors like most of the metals and also mirrors. They give a clear image because they reflect the light regularly, like the one here in the picture. So each of the rays that hits that surface actually is reflected regularly. That's why you can see your reflection in these objects straight. So again, the objects that reflect the light have smooth, shiny surfaces, and they are usually pale, and they also reflect the light regularly. Objects that do not reflect the light well, or you can say a poor reflectors. These objects have rough, matte surfaces. Rough means they are not smooth, and matte surfaces means they are dull, and usually they have dark colors. They give diffuse image, or sometimes they do not give an image at all because the light is reflected irregularly and it's scattered. Can you see here in this figure or in this diagram? There is light falling, and it's falling with the same angle and the same direction, but it's reflecting differently, irregularly, not in the same way, and that's why it's called a diffuse image. We have studied that when we studied the mirrors and the reflection of the surface of the mirror. Now, reading in a mirror. We all have tried, and I need you to try it again, just try to read in the mirror. Okay, just write that, working in pairs. Decide who is the timer and who is the reader. And try to write these words: Natasha, Shani, and Rajesh. The reader has to read a selection of words reflected in a mirror. So all you have to do is it's a game, you can play it in twos. You and your friend, your sister, your mom, even your dad. You can try this game. Just write a word and ask a reader to read it from the mirror. Okay, that should be fun. You can choose your own words. The timer measures the time taking. So you have to write the word. Just take the time for the other person to read the word from the mirror. And you have to record this. If you're in the class, of course, you have to, why the words are so difficult to read in the mirror, and you have to write your notes about how do they appear, and what is the average time taking to read these. Okay, in a plain mirror like this one, the plain mirror reflect the light regularly. It's shiny, smooth, and pale light surface. So because the mirror can reflect the light regularly, we can see a clear image that is the same size as the object. So when you're looking in the mirror, you see a perfect picture of yourself, an image of yourself. The reflection in the mirror is called an image, and it looks exactly like you, also with the same size. The image appears at the same distance also behind the mirror as the object. So if you're getting so close to the mirror, you feel like your picture is always, or your image is always also getting closer. If you get away, also your image is getting away. Okay, so the image appears at the same distance as the object in front of it. Okay, what is the difference between the image and the object? Okay, here's the difference. It's called lateral inversion. Inversion means, for example, when the object is reflected on a plane mirror, left appears as right and right appears as left. This is reversed. Okay, this reversal is called lateral inversion. So when you're looking in the mirror and try to raise your right hand, okay, your image is raising its left hand. If you're raising your left hand, it appears in the image as you're lifting the right hand. This is to explain the reflection at the mirror. What happens when the light hits a plane mirror? So this is the mirror, okay, and this is called the normal line. Do you remember that? The line which is perpendicular to the surface of the mirror is called the normal line. Okay, let's try that again. So if you're having a source of light, let's pretend that this is a source of light, and we said that this is normal, the normal line. So if you have it, the light actually falls, and do you remember what do we call that? We call that the ray of incident. And when the light hits a surface, it usually, especially if it's smooth and shiny, it's reflected. And we call that reflected ray, or this is ray of incident or the incident ray, and this is the reflected ray. So the incident ray is the ray that hits the surface of the mirror, and the reflected ray is the ray that bounces or reflected off the surface of the mirror. So when there is the ray of incident, it makes, this is an angle. So we will call that I, the angle of incidence, and this is another angle, we will call it R. So I is the angle of incidence, and this is the angle of reflection. And do you remember the main rule about reflection? I equal R. So the angle of incidence in reflection is always equal to the angle of reflection. Now this is little something for you to do. Look at the diagram. You have to draw the diagram yourselves and then label it, and also try to define what is angle of incidence, what is angle of incidence, and what is the angle of reflection. What are they? You can define them using also the diagram. So again, you have to draw the diagram, okay, and you have to label it and define. Remember my question. I will write them down here. Define a angle of incidence, angle of reflection. what is the angle of incidence and what is the angle of reflection. Okay, this was part 2 of revising unit 1, and stay well. Hope to see you soon.